The following essay was well researched and used information from various authors and experts. Please see the description for the proper resources. The Soul Tree Project presents a Jungian analysis of Lord of the Rings. In this video, we will attempt to look at some of the most relevant Jungian themes as they apply to Lord of the Rings. Please remember, this is not a comprehensive overview. Rather, it is a glimpse into the world of possibilities when we apply Jung's analytical psychology to the universe of Lord of the Rings, as it was presented in the cinematic trilogy. Part 1. The Unconscious Paradise Motif. Lord of the Rings begins in the Shire, a very comfortable, quaint, and peaceful place, akin to the unconscious paradise motif. This is a mythic trope where the heroes live in a world that hasn't yet been disturbed. Regarding unconscious paradise, Jordan Peterson presents, myth appears to have equated the establishment of the opposition necessary to being with the appearance and evolution of the limited subject who serves creation as the mirror of God. Being cast out of unconscious paradise is a jumpstart to exploratory consciousness. The oppositional tension created instantiates the potential for the individuation process. Adam and Eve's banishment from the Garden of Eden and the Buddha's story of leaving the walled palace represent the unconscious paradise motif. In Adam and Eve's case, it was the eating from the apple that led to awareness of their nudity, vulnerability, and later banishment from the Garden of Eden. In the Buddha's case, he becomes aware of suffering outside the walled palace. The knowledge of suffering drives the Buddha to leave the palace and seek answers. The archetypal pattern is leaving unconscious paradise and facing the unknown.
This is it.
This is what?
If I take one more step, it'll be the farthest away from home I've ever been.
Come on, Sam. Remember what Bilbo used to say? It's a dangerous business.
Frodo, going out your door, you step onto the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's no knowing where you might be swept off to.
Lord of the Rings' transformative journey parallels these ancient mythological structures. The Hobbit's Shire in Lord of the Rings is essentially the Garden of Eden, or Buddha's walled palace, before the knowledge of evil, suffering, and vulnerability drives them out. Being in unconscious paradise, by its own definition, makes it impossible to be aware of the evil ring. This is because awareness of the shadow indicates consciousness. This explains why the hobbits were completely unaware of the evil of the ring, a shadow symbol in part, until Gandalf provides that clarity for them. It is often the archetype of the wise old man that appears and instills wisdom when a problem or cure is not obvious internally. Jung addresses the interplay of conscious and unconscious through sharing, just as conscious contents can vanish into the unconscious, new contents, which have never yet been conscious, can arise from it. The archetypal nature of this message is that in becoming aware or unaware of something, one is automatically cast out of whatever world was previously inhabited and forced into an entirely new world, full of both danger and potential.
But I cannot stay in the Shire.
No! No, it can't.
What must I do?
Frodo and his fellow hobbits, Sam, Merry, and Pippin, leave the Shire bearing the ring, which symbolizes leaving unconscious paradise after becoming conscious of the problem of evil and vulnerability. This awakening of consciousness creates a tension of polarities and begins the journey towards the self. Peterson furthers this foundational understanding by explaining that myths portray the emergence of human dissatisfaction with present conditions, no matter how comfortable, and the tendency or desire for movement towards a better future. It is also important to note that participation in the act of qualitative transformation of consciousness is the antidote for the fundamental unrest which throws human consciousness out of unconscious paradise. Frodo later displayed this voluntary participation in the transformative process by taking the ring into his possession to courageously alleviate suffering.
I will take the ring to Mordor. Though I do not know the way.
Before knowledge of the ring's evil nature, the hobbits are unaware of the tension of opposites in the unconscious paradise of the Shire. The world seems as if it is merely one singular experience. Self-awareness or consciousness of any sort would interrupt this process. This experience of being cast out of unconscious paradise is so archetypal that people must go through this interruption as children. Knowledge of death, suffering, impermanence, and change will eventually taint most every childhood. This interruptive mechanism forces one out of unconscious singularity and into semi-conscious tension. Jung believed that the human enters life with a non-differentiated state of consciousness, and then he slowly emerges as a conscious ego. The burden of the ring is set onto every individual in this way, as they are cast out of unconscious paradise and into differentiated awareness through childhood. The childhood can of course be extrapolated and applied to various life situations where unconsciousness is interrupted by previously unknown information. The hobbits' awareness of the evil nature of the ring broke their immersion within paradisical unconscious singularity. They are thus thrust into the tension of the knowledge of good and evil. Painful opposition, such as this, seems to plague every life in some way. These archetypal polarities include, but are not limited to, good and evil, war and peace, love and hate, light and dark, and suffering and grace. It is precisely the tension of opposites that makes conscious life possible and allows us to embody a differential perception rather than being asleep in unconscious singularity. This implies that tragedy and conscious life are so tightly intertwined that they are foundational to human existence. Coming soon. Part 2. Shadow Integration. Gandalf and the Hobbits. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell if you'd like to see the upcoming videos.